Thank you. Morning, my name is Michelle Gillespie. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of the emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure the public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. I will now confirm members' access, and if you can just say yay when I call out your name. Diana?
Yay.
Dave?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
And Tom?
Yay.
And my name is Michelle. I'm the chair. So we will begin the meeting, and we'll start by inviting in the applicant, and today's meeting is only about one lineman. So we start with, we have Jeff, Alok, Vito. And will Marshall be joining you?
Here I am.
Oh, and there you are, Marshall. Yep. Okay. So at the last meeting, we had 2 items to discuss.
I'm recusing myself from the board.
Okay, yeah, please make a note that Dave is recusing himself from the board and will be joining the team to discuss the landscaping. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the loading dock because that we had several questions about that. And let's start talking about that, and then we can segue over to the final discussion on the landscaping. And then unless noted otherwise, we should be able to wrap this up. Okay. Who wants to talk? Is it Vito or Alok or Marshall or Jeff? Want to start with the loading dock?
Is Alok, are you going to do this? You're muted.
I think he's frozen.
I'm trying to unmute. I seem to be having some little difficulties here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. My screen is frozen, but if you can hear me since the last time we added the loading dock location off loading dock number 2, which was eliminated, and now in the rendering, you can see the foundation that becomes larger and more visible as we fall off towards the loading dock. So those were the changes that were requested to show what the loading dock and the access stair looks like, and so that's what we've done. Right now, I'm showing the foundation as exposed and untreated. It's basically, hopefully, a nicely cast concrete foundation. It seems like this is really the only facade along which the foundation will be visible. We have plantings along virtually the entire perimeter along the 2 sides and the front. And so this at the back of the building is where we would experience the foundation. I noticed this, plenty in institutional buildings and residential buildings, and it seems overkill to clad it in my opinion, but that's kind of where the rendering stands from an architectural standpoint.
Okay.
So look, this is like approximately 8x8 residential scale upward acting overhead door here.
Right. I think the model that I picked from the 3D warehouse is approximately an 8.5 by 9.5 door as it sits in this model. But as we spoke with Jeff the last time, he does not require anything more that will accept a tractor trailer. So I think an 8x9 is standard for receiving a tractor trailer once every couple of months. So that's about the size of the door that we're going for.
So that's about half of what you see on a typical house in the neighborhood. So this is residential scale doors. My only comment would be maybe consider having the doors be the same color as the split face block or close approximation so it doesn't pop out at you. But it's relatively modest in its scale compared to the rest of the building.
Yeah,
I would agree.
think we'd have any issue with blending the doors. I was, yep. I think that's certainly doable.
I agree the color change makes sense.
I do too. That's a good comment, Tom.
So I find that perfectly acceptable. It's such a modest detail on the scale of the building. It's not intrusive. It's actually kind of minimal compared to the rest of the buildings in the industrial district, and it's certainly residential in scale and type. So I'd rather focus on the landscaping.
Okay. And do any other board members have any other comments about the this rendering? How about you, Lisa? Any comments? Are you in favor of it?
Yeah, I think the door comment is correct. I would definitely put the garage door to blend with the wall and the man door.
Yep. Okay. Nice job. Looks good. Okay, so thank you on this. This takes care of the loading dock area. If you can make that change, it's appropriate. If we're all set with this area of the building, let's go over to landscape and start discussing the landscape, which is the final outstanding issue. Now, I understand if you want to, I don't know if you want to do this, Marshall or Jeff, but Jeff, you had either a call or a discussion with the neighbor, abutting neighbor Ann, and then Marshall, yourself as well. And just to let the committee know that Ann was delayed in getting back because she had a family member that is very ill that she's been taking care of, but she was able to respond, which I think Marshall and Jeff can walk you through because basically they've been working with Ann on this. But so we have had a response, but she wanted to mention that about she's had an ill parent. I don't know if it's a parent or a relative that she's been taking care of. But they were able to connect, which is good news. So that they had a dialogue about this. And Jeff or Marshall, do you want to talk about this?
Let me start with my conversation with Ann. So basically, I sent a few emails to Ann. The first email basically asked her to set up a meeting with me or David to discuss their landscape needs. And she did not respond to my first email, but then I followed up with a second email. Then she did respond to the second email, and her words indicate that she preferred to have more trees, more greens around the Lyman Street. And then I also sent the third email asking her if her family can consider to let us plant some trees in her property according to the design acceptable to both parties. And she respectfully declined the offer. And so that's the all communications I have with Ann.
Okay. And Marshall, did you want to give feedback?
I also sent Anne an email saying, obviously sorry about her family situation because my wife and I have been through that within the last year as well. But I did not hear back from Anne in the sense of we had offered to meet, or we had, I shouldn't say or, and we had offered if she would prefer to have some plantings at her property. And there was no response saying, okay, let's meet. So we're here saying, we think this design looks nice. We think your committee feels it looks nice. They seem to want the maximum amount of trees to block any view of the building, and certainly the loading dock. So I leave it up to the committee for a recommendation. I know that they'll be talking to the planning board as well. And they have sent some emails to the planning board, and the planning board, Kerry sent back an email saying that your vote, if you will, is a recommendation and that the planning board makes the final decision. We are comfortable with any of the plans that we have shown you.
Thank you. So we can discuss this as a committee. My recommendation to help the committee in making a decision is possibly as the board sent a notice back to the committee, which is, and I'm on the planning board, you might want to send 2 renderings and let the planning board make the final decision. So, you know, the direct abutter across the street has asked for more trees other than what we're seeing now. Have you guys been able to show this one and then the one with more trees? And do we want to have a discussion about that? And is that what our message or would be back to the planning board, which would be, you know, here are 2 options for and the planning board could consider one or the other.
So there are the 2 options. The one you're looking at now is the one that mostly blocks the view of the building. The other one shows the revised and very attractive appearance of the building. So we can show them both to the planning board. If this board, I think it preferred not to flood the area with trees, and a good point was made that the more trees you have, the less the grass will flourish. But we're open to either style.
Okay. Okay. So does the committee have any feedback, any response to what they're seeing now and the correspondence that's happened between the applicant and the direct abutter and her concerns? Tom?
I have a comment or 2. So Dave, this is the north elevation of the building. Is Dave?
Yep, here we go. Sorry, I was on mute.
This is the north elevation?
This is the one along Lyman Street. This is the original one we did. We didn't change the building out on this. This is the original one. So this is Lyman Street, yeah.
So what's the orientation? It's facing north, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this side yard has the most shade of all 4 orientations.
Yes.
So
Sorry, it'd be west. Sorry.
what is it?
West.
Northwest?
Oh, north is on that side of the page.
Okay.
Which
So
way?
we got northwest. So we get low sun, or we get a lot of this will be in shade. And
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
seeing-
we're,
Building shades it.
yeah, 'cause yes.
so the plantings closest to the building will be predominantly in shade.
On the backside.
Okay, because the movement of the sun. So my feeling is this image of the planting would be most successful with the site conditions in terms of the amount of sunlight available, and it just allows air circulation so things don't get damp and mossy, and when you overplant, you really can't appreciate the landscaping, especially the forms or the colors, because it's so dense. And I just think it would be a really densely populated side yard here will be a real maintenance problem. And you be difficult to keep the species, vital and vibrant. So I think overplanting in order to create a buffer is deficient in two ways. It blocks an attractive building, and it doesn't give the plantings that you do provide sufficient space and air and light to thrive. So I would strongly urge the committee to go with the first rendering and avoid this, what I would consider overplanting.
I would just add to what you said, Tom. I still feel like that the landscape should work with the building design and complement the building design. And I don't feel that this one complements the building design in the way that the latter plan does. I mean, the owner has worked hard the applicant has worked hard to make the changes to the building that we recommended. And I appreciate that this landscape option works with that. And I agree with Tom's point about the sun orientation as well.
And we're thankful that Jeff and Marshall have worked closely with the abutting neighbor, but there's also the larger community at large. We want to be able to say, now here is a client and their design team that has worked with us to get a much stronger building design and landscape design. It can be a model for future development in Northborough, where a collaboration between the design review committee and the applicants to get something that is an attractive addition to Northborough. So think of the larger community because it's a highly trafficked area, and we could say, look, this is way it should go.
Lisa, do you have any comments?
I'm in agreement. I think I think they've worked tirelessly to take care of our concerns. I think it's a good looking example of what we should see in the industrial area. And I kind of agree that I like this rendering better than the other rendering. This just looks natural. The other rendering looks like we're just sticking something in there to make a shield. And that will definitely not stay. That will all die just because there isn't enough sun coming in on that side. I just want to know that, are we putting in a perpetuity line because larger trees do have a harder time taking root? So I would like to see that.
That is up to the planning board, and they've been doing that all along. I think Bob Federico's on, but Bob can weigh in on this. They've been asking that on some of making a condition of most applications. Bob?
Most applications or decisions have something in perpetuity, whether it be trees or fences or special conditions. I think it's a little groggy this morning. I think the general zoning bylaws have something that any kind of a special permit or variance with conditions, that those conditions are in perpetuity. It's kind of a blanket statement. I'd have to research that, but back to the original question, most of the boards usually put in perpetuity into it anyway.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to have it sent over to the planning board to write that, because I know that I have the problem with the bank next door to me that the perpetuity isn't being listened to, and that looks pretty bad after 10 years. And when you go back and look at the minutes, and it's not in the minutes, so.
That's an odd phrase to say, in perpetuity. That's a pretty long time. And our climate has shifted one whole week. And a lot of the species we use now may struggle as our climate continues to change. So I think there should be some awareness of the climatic changes and how they're going to impact our landscaping. And, in perpetuity, we may be underwater. So
Well, I don't agree with
it's an
that.
odd phrase.
Yeah. So I think what the board can have a discussion on moving forward, I'm not talking about this committee because it's not under the purview of this committee, unless the board asks for advisement. But I think what this, the planning board, when they talk about in perpetuity, is if there were 5 trees and 1 died, then the applicant would replace that tree. And if for some reason that species is not doing well, then the applicant can go and find another tree that will sustain or do just as well in that location. So I think that's what we're talking about when we work with applicants. If 5 trees are planted and 1 is not doing well, then the applicant will go back and replace the one that's just not thriving and maintain it. So good points. And we've been having discussions with this on the planning board. I want to applaud the applicant for investing in these trees at the size they are at the mature growth, because that is going to be really helpful. And again, so we had a discussion where it was more trees or less trees and creating that natural buffer. Thank you, Dave, for mentioning that there actually are 2 rows of trees. There's one that's closer to Lyman Street and then one that's closer to the building. So we do have 2 full sets of trees on the Lyman Street side. And I agree, it's an extremely attractive building. I would hate to overshadow it with a lot of overgrowth, because I feel like the response in the public would be, well, who approved that? And that doesn't look good and could work against our design approval process. So if the committee is in favor, we could just send this one rendering over to the planning board for their next meeting. And then I will discuss with them on why the other rendering or the overplanting did not work, with all the feedback that Tom was able to give me, as well as Diane, on how when you overplant, it does not complement the building and actually can work against the elements around it, such as creating moss, or potentially all those perennials or other plantings can die off. So I will pass that message along at the meeting. Is there anything else that anybody would like to discuss as far as landscaping, or are we all in agreement that this is the landscaping rendering we'd like to submit?
Hi, Michelle. I have a question regarding the height of the dock. I'm sorry, I brought that back.
Okay.
So I probably missed the detail of a locks joint. Actually, the height of a high cube container itself is 9 feet and 6 inches. And so by doing the dock at the height of 9 feet, we would not be able to pull the pallets out of the container. And I believe my dock probably has the height of the door. I have not measured, but I would say at least 12 feet, tall, so that we can jack up the pallet and pull them out of the container. We always ship the pallets in the container every 3 months, and so that's crucial to have the dock for unloading the pallets, every 3 months. So I would put that request in to raise the height of the dock door to 12 feet, so that which can reasonably match what the business needs to unload the container once in a while.
Alok, do you have a comment on that? If you're still there?
I am here, and I do not. I looked for a loading dock door that would work with a tractor trailer. There are different sizes, and I went with one size that seemed to work. But to Jeff's point, if that's what he needs with the tractor trailers, and to be able to get to get a lifted pallet in, then I can modify this dock door to be 2 feet taller than what's shown. I think it's approximately a 9 by 10 now. So if I would raise it up by 2 feet, I can stretch the model and resubmit it. And if it looks, I can also change the color on it to blend. And between those two things, hopefully it won't change the overall essence of this image all that much.
For my clarification, are you suggesting that it be 3 feet off the ground and then a 9 foot 6 inch door? Or are you suggesting the door itself be 12 feet high?
The container sits on the trailer. Okay, that trailer height is by default is about 3 feet. So that's when the trailer back up to the dock. So the bottom of the container reaches the dock, the beginning of the dock, and so the height from the bottom of the dock to the top of the dock needs to be approximately 11 to 12 feet. The height of the high cube container itself is 9 feet and 6 inches. That's a standard height, and so we definitely need to jack up the pallets in order to pull them out, right? So yeah, they will need some room to accommodate the height of the container, and yeah, I would say 11 feet is enough. Okay, 11 feet from the beginning of the dock.
Yeah.
Right.
Here,
The way it's shown now, it's got a little dock leveler on there. We're about 3 feet. I don't know exactly what the grade is at that point. We're approximately 3 feet above grade.
Yep.
And that door is somewhere around 9'6". When I pulled it off the model, I think it's 9'6", or maybe with everything that's shown there, maybe 10 feet off the floor. So if we had to raise it by a foot or two, I don't think it would substantially impact the visual that you're seeing. But I can do that today or tomorrow and get it back in circulation for record, and I'll change the color to match the CMU block as well.
Yeah.
So if you go 18 courses of 8-inch block, that'll give you a 12-foot high opening, and that's a standard size for a door. So I'd rather see you match the coursing of the material than try to have half blocks. So
Yeah. I agree. And we don't want to put a door there that you can't use. That doesn't make sense at all. So, yeah. So let's go with Tom's recommendation, because it's going to aesthetically look better if we go up to 12 feet. And just by matching the color, I think visually from the street, you'll probably won't notice it significantly. So thank you for picking that up, Jeff. I'm glad you picked it up. And we'll make that, your engineer will make that change. And we should be good on this. Is everyone okay on the committee? Lisa, Tom, and Diana with this 12-foot? Okay.
that's
Yes.
fine.
Thank you. So you're back to the planning board in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for all your work. It's a very attractive building. And thank you for working with us.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle,
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
if I could, Michelle, I've obviously represented a lot of developers for projects in Northborough. And this is, I have to say, the most rewarding and productive session that we've worked with. I thought, I'm obviously not an architect, and when I first saw the building, I thought, oh, that's an attractive building. When I look at the original slides and I look what we have ended up with, it is so much improved. So this was a wonderful collaborative effort, and I want to thank everybody on the committee, as well as both our engineer and our architect and landscape designer. I think this was a wonderful outcome. I think it looks terrific.
Yeah, we have two great architects on our committee, Diana and Tom, and working with ALOC, I think they produced a really very attractive building. And, we're very fortunate to have Dave on as a landscape architect as well on our committee. And I know that he did not, he recused himself from participating in the decision, but he produced really a very nice product. So thank you, all three of you on that. Yep. All right. So good day and have a good day off to work. And then the committee will stay on and just review the minutes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Okay, so we're on with just us five. We're all back on, and Bob's with us. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a hard time finding the login information.
I know.
Me too.
I didn't.
Me too. It's tough.
Yeah. All right, that's okay. We're doing good. Okay, So,
Sorry about the phone. The phone in the office here is exploding today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because the sun's out.
yeah. Okay, so a couple of things. We're going to review minutes now, but as we review the minutes, can everybody take a look at their calendar? We want to get on a monthly, regular meeting basis once a month. So if we could just do this now before we go over to minutes. Let's see, we're now in the month of May. If we could pick something during the month of June. Today is a Thursday, but Wednesdays and Thursdays seem to work well. I know that Bob, Dave, you had a problem with one of the classes you were attending on Wednesday. I don't know if that's still an issue.
Yep, it's reoccurring 9 a.m. every Wednesday.
Okay, so if Thursdays look okay, can we meet again June 10th or 17th?
I'm
Michelle,
open
do we
on
meet?
the 10th.
There's nothing on the agenda.
Well, Kathy just requested tentatively in case something should come up that we should start to at least hold a couple of dates. We may
Okay.
want to just, do it also in July and August, but knowing everyone's vacation schedule. But I thought we could at least just try for something in June. And if
Okay.
something comes up, she can at least tell an applicant that's what she has.
All right.
I can do the 17th, but not the 10th.
Okay. How does the 17th look for the committee?
Goodness for
I
me.
can't do the 17th, actually.
Okay,
I can do either.
okay. How about the 24th?
I can do the 24th.
That's questionable for me.
I can do the 24th.
Okay. But Dave, it's questionable for you, but what about, for example, on another day of the week? Because we're focusing on Thursdays because of your Wednesday issue.
That week, I may or may not have my son for vacation week. I
Okay.
don't know yet because of parental week off. It hasn't been firmed up yet. So
Okay,
if I have him, we may be at the Cape, but we may not. And I don't know yet.
okay.
So-
We'd be happy to join you via Zoom on the Cape. I mean, that's-
It'll be
You know,
on
put
a
it by the
boat.
window.
Hey, I work from a boat all the time. That's not an excuse.
Cooper
All
can
right, why
join
don't
us.
we?
Yeah, he'll be fishing.
We'll go fishing you with you too. Okay.
No problem.
Since the 10th doesn't work for one of the committee members and the 17th for another committee, let's shoot for the 24th. That gives Kathy enough time. And if we don't have anyone, she will just reschedule. Okay. And so let's just tentatively say the 24th at 8 a.m. Okay. So
Yep.
that gives staff an opportunity, should they have an applicant come in to start the process. As you know, the first meeting is usually an introduction to their, what they're planning on doing. All right. So did everyone have time to review the minutes? Okay, I'm just calling up the minutes here. Do we have any changes to the minutes?
Not that I know of.
Okay, good set of minutes. Okay, so could I have a motion from someone in the committee to approve the April 28th minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, and then could you all approve the minutes? Diana?
Approve.
Tom?
Approve.
Dave?
Approve.
Lisa?
Approved.
Myself, I approve. Okay, so the minutes are up to date, approved, and we're all set. And that's the last item on our agenda. You're all set and go have a good day and enjoy work.
Good job,
Bye.
everybody.
You too.
Bravo.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay, thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.